Jahi, a young college student, often contemplates the probabilities of various events in her life. One day, while sitting in class, she receives notifications on her phone about a game alert. Her diamond card in the game has reached its limit and needs to be emptied. She had forgotten to put her phone on silent, drawing the attention of her friend, who mocks her for playing what she considers a pointless game. The game, called Infinite Diameter, lacks any storyline or world building. Players simply collect diamonds by clicking, while miners, referred to as genomes, do the gathering. Jahi has been playing Infinite Diameter every day for a year without losing interest. Her dedication stems from one mystery, a secret reward promised to any player who reaches 999,999,999,999 diamonds. No one has ever achieved this milestone, and Jahi is determined to be the first. Over the past year, she has repeatedly emptied her diamond cart, inching closer to the reward. The game is designed to be highly addictive, keeping players engaged until they reach the final goal. Meanwhile, her friend suggests trying out a new game, Terrarium Adventure, which is opening for pre-registered users next month. Without Jahi's consent, her friend registers her for the game, which frustrates her. Upon looking into it, Jahi realizes that Terrarium Adventure is developed by the same company as Infinite Diameter, making her suspicious. She worries that once the new game launches, the servers for Infinite Diameter might be shut down. Determined to claim her reward before that happens, Jahi prioritizes the game over her classes, pushing herself to empty her diamond cart twice a day to speed up the process. Jahi starts questioning why the company would keep an unprofitable game running for so long. She recalls many other games that shut down after just a year, leaving players with nothing but closure notices. Despite her concerns, she notices Terrarium Adventure has impressive visuals, tempting her. However, she refocuses on her goal, realizing that her only option to reach the reward faster is to spend real money, a risky move, given that the game could be shut down at any moment. Still, she gives in, purchasing in-game items to speed up her miners, forcing her to constantly monitor her phone as they mine at an incredible rate. While in her room, she hears another notification and checks her phone, confirming her pre-registration for Terrarium Adventure. This makes her question when she had turned off silent mode. Before she can dwell on it, she receives a second alert: her diamond cart is full. This is the final cart she needs to empty in order to claim her reward. She watches as the loading bar reaches 100%, taps the cart, and finally collects 999 trillion diamonds. With her achievement unlocked, Jahi eagerly anticipates her long-awaited reward. She receives a mystical key and instinctively tries to take a screenshot, but her phone refuses to capture the image. Suddenly, her phone's brightness surges, and the intense light engulfs her surroundings. When she regains awareness, she is no longer in her home. Instead, she finds herself in an unfamiliar place without any cell towers. She attempts to use her phone to determine her location, but the device is completely dead. Confused, Jahi wanders until a rude stranger inside a shop makes an offhand comment about her. She steps outside, encountering more unfamiliar faces who look at her strangely. As she passes by a reflective surface, she notices her jacket is worn out. Her once shiny, beautiful jacket is gone. Even stranger, the people around her wear bizarre clothing, and society here seems to function based on rank and identity. Jahi begins noticing even more abnormalities: bright-colored hair, green skin, and a general atmosphere that feels unreal. She feels as if she has stepped into an RPG game. Overhearing a shopkeeper's conversation, she learns that upgrade stones are on sale for 19 diamonds, weapon appraisals cost 3 diamonds, and homemade potions are cheaper than those at Alchemist Tower, where they are sold for 5 diamonds per bottle. The mention of diamonds startles her. Could this place be connected to Infinite Diameter? As she tries to make sense of it all, she suddenly hears a familiar sound, the diamond collection alert from her phone. Doubting her own sanity, she listens carefully. The sound repeats, and someone asks if she needs diamonds. The voice is coming from her phone, which, to her shock, turns on by itself. Jahi looks at her phone and sees the miners from the game, surprised by their presence. Her phone had been dead, yet now the game is somehow running. Though relieved that her phone turned on, she immediately notices something strange: the characters in the game are not only speaking to her but also looking at her directly, which unnerves her. One of the miners asks if she needs diamonds, informing her that the cart is full, and they have an underground warehouse stocked with even more diamonds. Additionally, they mention that instead of gravel, diamonds are now flowing from a fountain, and all of them belong to her. She can use as many as she wants without hesitation. Despite their reassurances, Jahi hesitates, wondering if these are in-game diamonds and how she can even spend them in this unfamiliar place. Confused, she questions the miners about how they became aware and how they can provide her with diamonds. They respond by explaining that they are her wallet and that if she plans to go on an adventure, she will need plenty of diamonds. However, they offer no answers to her real questions, repeatedly steering the conversation back to diamonds. Frustrated, Jahi tries a different approach, asking where she actually is, but the miners seem clueless. Instead, they suggest that she use diamonds to find answers, making Jahi even more irritated. She realizes that this is not infinite diameter, where spending diamonds solves everything. At that moment, a girl named Daisy appears. Jahi asks if Daisy would accept something other than bread as payment. Daisy explains that even clean water would be valuable because the town's water sources have dried up due to the fires. She has no water or bread, nor does she have any means to obtain money. Jahi checks her phone wallet, shocked to see that it contains diamonds, a feature she never knew existed. She asks Daisy if she would accept diamonds, but Daisy refuses, saying it's too much for her. Jahi then offers Daisy help in exchange for diamonds, but Daisy insists that she has no skills to protect her. Eventually, Daisy accepts a piece of bread from Jahi, realizing this is Jahi's first time in the town. She explains that the town belongs to the Green Tree Branch, making it better off than other places. Jahi wants to ask more questions but holds back, watching as Daisy desperately eats the bread. Seeing how cheap food is, Jahi buys 3 more pieces of bread and 2 bottles of milk for just 1 diamond. Even though she doesn't feel the weight of the food, she can't store it in her pocket, making her feel even more disconnected from reality. Daisy then takes Jahi to an inn, where the owner is kind. Daisy thanks Jahi and prepares to leave, but Jahi asks her to stay and work for her, explaining that she needs help. Daisy reminds her once again that she has no useful skills, but Jahi insists, saying she is the only one who can help. Though Daisy doesn't fully understand what Jahi means, she ultimately agrees. Jahi then tries a trick used by kidnappers, inviting Daisy to share a meal and talk about the town, since Jahi knows nothing about it. They go to a restaurant, but Jahi worries whether her remaining diamonds will be enough to pay for a meal. Checking her phone wallet, she is shocked to see that she still has diamonds left. The miners continue offering her more, suggesting that she buy clothes, weapons, an inn, or even hire mercenaries. Jahi still can't believe that these are from infinite diameter, but she finally accepts that they are. She orders a delicious meal, which makes Daisy's eyes light up. Jahi wants to gain Daisy's trust so she can ask more questions, so she treats her generously. Daisy, in turn, waits for Jahi to eat first, as a sign of respect and discipline. Jahi feels like a noble, hearing Daisy's polite words. During their conversation, Jahi asks Daisy why she calls her a druid, even though she never claimed to be one. Daisy, in response, questions Jahi's true purpose, mentioning that most people wouldn't leave their town because of the fire dangers. She also explains that the branch of the world tree bears fruit, which seems to confirm Jahi's druid status. Eventually, Jahi accepts the title of druid and listens to what Daisy tells her. Feeling more comfortable, Jahi shares a secret that she is very rich, but lacks knowledge of the common people's way of life, making her an easy target for scams. She once again asks Daisy for help, and Daisy, seeing Jahi's genuine confusion, finally agrees. As their conversation continues, Daisy gradually relaxes, but Jahi starts to question the true value of the diamonds she's spending. Nonetheless, she offers Daisy a chance to eat as much as she wants, while Daisy agrees to answer Jahi's questions. They sit at a corner table, though Jahi still isn't sure whether her knowledge aligns with common sense in this world. To clear her doubts, Jahi begins with a simple question: where are they? Daisy reveals that this place is the 26th terrarium of the World Tree. Jahi is immediately disturbed. This doesn't sound like anywhere in Korea. The realization tenses her up, as she finally grasps that she is in an entirely different world. Daisy further explains that the terrarium's number indicates its distance from the World Tree. The smaller the number, the closer it is to the World Tree, while higher numbers indicate locations farther away. Because this town is relatively close to the World Tree, it has survived the fires, unlike other regions. However, if anyone steps outside the town, they risk being attacked by the fire. Jahi is still struggling to understand the world she has ended up in. She has many unanswered questions. Is the world tree that Daisy mentioned the same as the one she is familiar with? Is the fire in this world the same as the one she knows? Despite her confusion, she makes sure to let Daisy know how helpful she is, which makes Daisy feel more at ease. Just as Jahi is about to ask another question, a man enters the restaurant looking for an inn. As soon as he notices Daisy's red hair, he angrily demands that she leave, claiming that the color red is inauspicious to him. Jahi immediately steps in to stop Daisy from leaving, but the man becomes aggressive, seemingly about to hurt her. Before he can do anything, however, the innkeeper intervenes, lifting the man up and throwing him out. The man, now furious, declares that he is a druid, emphasizing that only druids can save people from the fire. He then warns the innkeeper that a nearby town was just reduced to ashes by the fire, proving the importance of druids. Jahi realizes that by fire, he likely means something more destructive than ordinary flames, perhaps even a monstrous force. Despite the man's attempts to assert his value, the innkeeper remains unfazed, explaining that business will continue as usual and that causing chaos will only get him thrown out again. The man leaves angrily, warning the town that they will regret it. Jahi tells Daisy to ignore people like him, but Daisy appears deeply shaken. To comfort her, Jahi orders a glass of water, only to discover that water is expensive due to the dried-up sources caused by the fire. A single bottle costs 1 diamond. Jahi doesn't hesitate to buy Daisy a glass of water, and Daisy becomes emotional, touched by the kindness she rarely experiences. She mentions that she is treated far better than even the people who repair the town's walls. Jahi then places a gentle hand on Daisy's head, offering warmth and reassurance. However, her thoughts return to what the man had said, his warning that the town will regret it. She starts to realize that druids, who can extinguish the fire, are crucial in this world. At that moment, a memory clicks into place. The man's words sound familiar. Thinking deeply, Jahi remembers where she has heard them before. They were in the confirmation message for the Terrarium adventure game, the one her friend pre-registered her for before she ended up in this place. That's when it hits her. She is inside the game. But how is that possible? Virtual reality games don't even exist yet. Terrarium Adventure itself hasn't even officially launched. Jahi is overwhelmed by curiosity. If this is truly a game world, she wonders if she can level up, gain skills, or unlock achievements. Daisy notices Jahi's sudden excitement and asks if she is afraid of adventures. Jahi doesn't know how to respond. She has no idea what risks and dangers exist in this world. Daisy then shares a painful truth: adventuring is extremely dangerous. Many children in the village have lost their parents to the fire, and Daisy herself is an orphan because of it. Jahi immediately apologizes, realizing that she may have reopened old wounds. But Daisy, with her kind heart, reassures her that it's okay. She explains that she lives in a community center that shelters orphans like herself. Hearing this, Jahi begins to see the bigger picture. The fire isn't just a physical threat, it's a major social issue in this world, much like how firefighters in the real world are essential for safety. This leads Jahi to ask a crucial question: why are druids the only ones who can put out the fire? Daisy explains that druids are born from the world tree, giving them special powers that allow them to resist and fight the fire, something that ordinary plants cannot do. Jahi then recalls the arrogant man from earlier. From a game design perspective, this town could be a starting area for new players. Since she is just beginning the game, she has nothing yet, but she knows that she will eventually become a full-fledged druid, just like what she saw on the game's loading screen. Curious about what she needs to do next, Jahi asks Daisy how to become a druid. Daisy tells her that she should wake up early the next morning and go to the orchard to pick apples and pears. To Jahi, this sounds like a farming game, which surprises her. Before they can continue, the restaurant owner announces closing time. Jahi still has so many unanswered questions, but for now, she needs to prepare for tomorrow. One problem, though: Jahi is not a morning person. Knowing she won't wake up on her own, she asks Daisy to help wake her up. She even offers Daisy a part-time job to assist her. The restaurant owner, however, suggests hiring a professional instead of Daisy, since she is just a child. But Jahi insists she prefers Daisy's help. In a slip of the tongue, Daisy accidentally reveals Jahi's wealth, catching the owner's attention. The owner then asks Jahi if she is a noble and how she ended up in such a place. Jahi gives a casual explanation, but the owner remains curious. As they settle in for the night, there is an extra charge for Daisy to stay at the inn. Daisy offers to sleep outside, but Jahi refuses, showing kindness once again. She pays for Daisy's room, a morning meal, and even 3 bottles of water. The owner suggests that Daisy should follow Jahi's instructions, as she usually sleeps in cold, narrow spaces. Daisy is deeply moved by Jahi's generosity. She even expresses concern that Jahi is spending too many diamonds on her. But Jahi isn't worried, her diamond supply is endless. She can tap the cart whenever she wants, and more diamonds magically appear. Even if she spent a lifetime here, she wouldn't run out. Jahi has become a trillionaire overnight, all because she simply tapped the cart. Daisy has never had such comfort before. She is used to worrying about her next meal and finding clean water. But now, with food, water, and a warm bed, it all feels like a dream she never wants to wake up from. Before going to sleep, they say goodnight to each other, and Daisy promises to wake Jahi up in the morning. The next day, as they head to the orchard, they are greeted by an astonishing sight. The orchard is shining in gold, and a large crowd has gathered. Jahi and Daisy arrive at the orchard, only to find it crowded with people, making it feel more like a tourist attraction than a quiet place. Daisy apologizes for bringing Jahi late, but Jahi wouldn't have woken up early anyway, despite Daisy's efforts. Wanting to keep Daisy close, Jahi instinctively lifts her up, worried that she might get swept away in the crowd. However, Daisy insists she doesn't want to be a burden, reassuring Jahi that she can manage on her own. Observing the crowd, Jahi realizes that most of the people here are druids, but Daisy explains that there are also specters among them. While Jahi is still trying to understand the situation, a woman approaches her, offering assistance. Jahi asks for a number, only to be told that all the free numbers have already been given out. Hearing this, Daisy warns Jahi that if they don't get a number today, they will have to wait an entire year for another chance. Daisy then asks if paid passes are available, and fortunately, they are diamond passes. Jahi purchases them, allowing them to enter the orchard. The woman explains that the world tree bears fruit only once a year, which is why there are very limited free passes. Some people even camp out for 3 days in advance to secure a number. As Jahi steps inside, she is astounded by the sight of the world tree's fruits, shimmering in the sunlight. However, the atmosphere feels strange. She notices people smirking at her, and the mood among the crowd is tense. Everyone seems to have different expectations. Some are hoping for a rare druid, while others don't expect anything special. Daisy, on the other hand, is just hoping for something ordinary. A man nearby has already obtained a unique druid, and since the chance of getting more than one unique from the same branch is almost zero, others feel discouraged. Jahi learns that druids have different rarities and can be obtained from the world tree, much like character pulls in a gacha game. Jahi has never been a fan of gacha games, but now that she has unlimited diamonds, she doesn't mind spending them freely. She had always envied players who could spend without hesitation, and now, she finally has the chance to do the same. Daisy, however, appears nervous. It's her first time drawing a fruit, and the intense environment is making her uneasy. Seeing this, Jahi cheers Daisy up, even offering her diamonds instead if that would make her happy. But Daisy declines, expressing that having Jahi with her is enough. As they prepare to pick their fruit, Jahi asks when she should pay the diamonds. The woman explains that payment is made after selecting the fruit, as the orchard's balance is maintained through diamond exchanges. Each fruit costs 300 diamonds, and Jahi is finally able to understand why someone earlier mentioned selling their land. If one fruit is worth 300 diamonds, that's equivalent to 900 pieces of bread or 600 bottles of milk. However, Jahi has no reason to worry, she has an endless supply of diamonds. Nearby, 2 druids are discussing fruit colors. One is glossy, while another looks strange to them. But to Jahi, all the fruits appear the same. Still, Daisy remains hesitant, so Jahi gently pushes her forward, urging her to pick a fruit. Daisy is surprised, but Jahi reassures her not to worry and to just choose one. Just as Daisy is about to pick a fruit, the same man from before, the one who insulted Daisy for her red hair, appears again and interrupts them. The man demands to know how many fruits they are going to pick. Jahi is confused by his sudden interest, but he insists that the number matters to him. Apparently, he has a lucky number and believes that whenever someone picks a fruit, it will affect his number. To Jahi, he seems superstitious, but after hearing his explanation, she realizes that he's not just superstitious, he's completely insane. The man loses his temper, blaming Daisy once again for her red hair. He rants about how his plan is now ruined and how he is now late for the orchard. He even tries to force Daisy to cooperate with him, demanding that she help him match his lucky number. At this point, Jahi has had enough. She is furious that he keeps insulting Daisy, blaming her for something as ridiculous as hair color. Her anger flares up, and she snaps at him, scolding him for his nonsensical and rude behavior toward Daisy. Jahi refuses to tolerate his nonsense any longer. With an air of swagger and confidence, she mockingly questions him if he's so obsessed with getting his number, why doesn't he just pay for 2 numbers instead? The man, now arrogant, asks if Jahi even knows how expensive the fruits are. But Jahi scoffs at him, declaring that 300 diamonds might be expensive for him, but not for her. She then boldly questions why she should have to tolerate the attitude of someone as poor as him. The surrounding crowd begins to take notice, murmuring among themselves. Many believe Jahi is just showing off, unaware of how many diamonds she actually possesses. Ignoring the whispers, Jahi tells Daisy to go ahead and pick her fruit. When Daisy finally selects one, she notices that it feels warm in her hands. Jahi then decides to buy more. She confidently picks 5 fruits in total, bringing her total to 1,500 diamonds. Using her mobile wallet, she commands the miners to drop the entire cart of diamonds. The crowd is left in absolute shock. The diamonds spill out in excess, and Jahi even pays extra, securing another number. Turning to Daisy, she encourages her to pick another fruit, saying that she's lucky. Daisy hesitantly picks another fruit, while the man is left seething with anger. But now, he is utterly powerless in front of Jahi's overwhelming wealth. The woman escorts Jahi and Daisy to the greenhouse, and Jahi can't help but feel amazing. Spending that many diamonds in front of that arrogant man felt incredibly satisfying. To be honest, Jahi was on the verge of exploding with anger before. But now that she has shut him up completely, she feels victorious. If this were her past self, she never would have dared to act this boldly. Jahi is feeling more confident than ever, knowing that she has an endless supply of diamonds. As she and Daisy enter the greenhouse, they find a designated area where dryads can bloom. Additionally, there is a stone plate next to each spot that allows one to analyze the genetic information of the fruit. The World Tree holds the genetic data of every dryad in existence. However, no one can predict what kind of dryad will emerge from a fruit until it fully blooms in the greenhouse. The stone plate provides a way to determine the genetic traits during the germination stage, allowing one to see a dryad's rarity and potential in advance. The higher the value of its genetic data, the rarer and stronger the dryad will be. If the genetic data is weak, the dryad can be prevented from blooming and instead be used as a fertilizer for higher-grade dryads. Hearing this makes Daisy uncomfortable, and she excuses herself, leaving in a hurry. Curious and excited, Jahi places her first fruit on the stone plate, eager to learn about its potential. However, no data appears. The lady assisting her explains that this means the fruit has no dryad information, essentially, a failed draw. Disappointed but not discouraged, Jahi tries 3 more fruits, only to receive the same results. All of them are bummer fruits with no dryad data. Though frustrated, the lady tells Jahi that she can sell these fruits and pick different ones. Given her vast wealth, she could easily buy every single fruit in the orchard. However, Jahi doesn't want to buy just any fruit, she wants to try the ones Daisy picked. She had prayed for her first dryad, and she wants to raise it no matter what. When she places Daisy's fruit on the stone plate, the fruit suddenly cracks open, revealing an elderflower dryad. Its title is Gift from God, and its attributes include language, devotion, habit, normal values, medicinal properties, safety, and charm. Jahi is overwhelmed with sentimentality, as she always keeps the first things she receives, even if she can't use them anymore. This dryad, being her first, is special to her. The lady confirms that the Dryad's final rank is unique, making it extremely rare. Its abilities include recovery and support, meaning it could be a valuable healer. Jahi realizes that in combat, a healer is crucial, as they keep the entire team alive. The lady then asks if Jahi would like to bloom the Dryad immediately. Jahi, still thrilled, is about to agree when the lady asks her to show her terrarium artifact. Jahi is confused, she has no idea what that is. She nervously smiles, then asks if not having a terrarium artifact means she isn't actually a druid. Her expectations shatter for a moment. However, hope reignites when the lady reassures her. Jahi is indeed a druid, but she simply lacks knowledge. The lady explains that only druids can communicate with dryads, which proves Jahi's druid status. Normal people cannot have conversations with dryads even if they understand their words. True communication is impossible. Even though dryads look human, their true form is that of a plant. A druid is blessed by the world tree, granting them the ability to communicate with nature in dryads. Then, the most shocking revelation comes: Daisy is a dryad. Jahi is stunned. She recalls how Daisy's name is the same as a daisy flower, and realizes she has no memory of Daisy speaking with any other human. The daisy plant species is common, and the lady confirms that Daisy is, in fact, a dryad. The lady initially assumed that Jahi already knew this and had simply linked with Daisy. But when Daisy left suddenly, the lady reconsidered. Jahi is still trying to process this information, but one thing is clear: she must find Daisy. Before she leaves, the lady tells Jahi that she actually already possesses her terrarium artifact, she just hasn't realized it yet. Since dryads can't survive long once separated from the world tree, a druid must create an environment that mimics the world tree to sustain them. Essentially, druids act as small trees for dryads, providing them with a home and a source of energy. A druid must offer a piece of their soul as a sanctuary for dryads. Jahi closes her eyes and concentrates, trying to connect with the blessings of the world tree. But the lady guides her differently, instructing her to feel the environment of the greenhouse, a place designed to replicate the world tree's natural habitat. Jahi relaxes, feeling the fresh air, warm sunlight, the cool scent of the pond, and the rich fragrance of the soil. Finally, she does it. A bracelet appears on her wrist. After touching the terrarium just once, the dryads were drawn into it. This terrarium served as a space for dryads to recuperate when injured. Being linked to druids, the terrarium made the dryads feel at ease. Jahi, now filled with renewed energy, wished to gather more dryads in her terrarium. The lady assisting her guided Jahi on how to make the seed in her hand blossom using an artifact within the terrarium. The seed would imprint itself on the soul of the first person to touch it, and when it bloomed, a striking, golden, radiant figure would emerge. This figure, realizing that Jahi had caused his blooming, was the first dryad. He proved to be quite impolite, his words piercing Jahi's heart. Jahi was taken aback by such rudeness, especially compared to how much nicer Daisy was. The lady explained that a dryad's behavior often depends on their level of closeness with their druid, and since this dryad had only just entered the world, everything was unfamiliar to him. The dryad went on to insult Jahi, criticizing her clothing and lack of wealth. He declared his desire for a druid who would treat him kindly and possess enough riches to construct a temple of gold for him. Recognizing the dryad's self-centeredness, the lady suggested there might be a method to deepen their connection. However, the dryad insisted he wanted to return to the world tree until a truly deserving master appeared. The lady warned him of the consequences: a dryad choosing to return would have their soul link severed, enduring the agonizing pain of decay and cold before finally returning to the world tree. Despite this grim prospect, the dryad found it preferable to staying with Jahi. Calling Jahi poor further inflamed her anger, causing her to drop several diamonds that scattered across the room. Jahi then defiantly offered him a cascade of diamonds, throwing them onto the ground and challenging him to collect them on his knees. To her surprise, he actually knelt down to pick up the diamonds. He innocently asked if she was genuinely giving him diamonds. Jahi confirmed that she was, admitting his face was so appealing she couldn't refuse him. Upon receiving the diamonds, the dryad accepted Jahi as his master, though he felt somewhat like a trained animal. Jahi then expressed her wish to bloom the remaining fruits. Hearing this, the first dryad, Elderflower, immediately objected, claiming he needed more resources for himself and that he was already sufficient. Elderflower's protest was purely due to his reluctance for Jahi to spend her diamonds on other dryads, but she reassured him that she possessed ample diamonds to fulfill his demands. Jahi placed the next fruit onto the stone plate. Its rank was confirmed as special, a revelation that astonished her. Securing a special ranked dryad was incredibly rare. It had been 10 years since one had last appeared. The dryad's name was revealed as Velvet Mosquito, with the language Tenacious Heart, Habitat Desert Field, values safety, and attributes defense and support. The special rank was even higher than the unique rank. Jahi had not anticipated such an extraordinary outcome and began to wonder if a dryad's personality was inversely related to its rank, given how unpleasant Elderflower seemed despite his high grade. She felt apprehension, fearing this new dryad might be aggressive or mistreat her. The lady, brimming with excitement, urged Jahi to proceed with the blooming without delay. Jahi felt fearless. She believed she had nothing to lose regardless of the dryad's personality, as her abundance of diamonds could overcome any inconvenience they caused. Jahi touched the seed, holding it in her palm. It levitated, emanating a golden light that felt intensely hot, like winds from a desert. Elderflower quickly stepped forward, creating a barrier to shield Jahi from the scorching gusts. From the golden light emerged a figure resembling a knight, equipped with a large weapon. Jahi was captivated by the sight. Velvet Mosquito looked towards her, and Jahi experienced a wave of fear, intimidated by the dryad's shield and weapon. Velvet Mosquito advanced towards Jahi, appearing poised to strike, but instead, she lowered her shield and weapon, then removed her helmet. Velvet Mosquito was revealed to be a female. She knelt down and gently took Jahi's hand. She stated that it had been decades since she had last encountered a druid, and the one before her now seemed frail and thin. Velvet Mosquito pledged to protect her master until the day she turned to dust. Jahi was deeply touched by her words. Elderflower questioned Velvet Mosquito's reappearance, having believed her species to be extinct. Velvet was curious about Elderflower's identity, yet also seemed to recognize him from the past. Velvet clarified that she wasn't extinct but had returned to the World Tree because her previous druid believed she still had tasks to complete. Elderflower asserted his position as Jahi's first dryad, but Velvet declared it irrelevant, stating that being by Jahi's side was all that mattered. Velvet then asked Jahi's name, and Jahi told her Jay, the name she always used in games and found fitting. Velvet accepted the name, calling her Jay and reiterating her promise of protection. Jahi felt immense satisfaction with Velvet Mosquito's demeanor. Thinking like a human, Jahi wondered if she should continue, given she knew when to start and stop. Should she try blooming more fruits in the hopes of meeting more attractive dryads? While lost in these thoughts, Jahi suddenly felt dizzy and was about to collapse. Velvet Mosquito caught her, and Jahi appeared weak. Elderflower placed his hand on her head and used his healing abilities. Though he specialized in healing dryads, his powers also worked on humans. Jahi felt significantly better. Elderflower jokingly demanded a price of 100 diamonds for the healing but quickly retracted the statement, calling it a jest. Jahi's weakness stemmed from reaching her soul limits. She understood that druids and dryads were connected by souls, requiring the druid to become like a small world tree and share their soul power. Higher-ranked dryads demanded more soul power. Jahi realized that acquiring more dryads at that moment would overwhelm her body. This sudden realization brought back the memory of the cost system. Regardless of the available space for characters, a druid could only handle characters whose combined cost didn't exceed a certain limit, e.g., 30. Jahi's dream of filling her terrarium artifact with dryads seemed temporarily out of reach. She could increase her soul power by spending time with her dryads, but the fastest method was engaging in battles with them. In essence, she needed to level up, and while she had plenty of diamonds, they couldn't help her with this specific limitation. Now content with one unique and one special dryad, Jahi decided she wanted to find Daisy. Velvet Mosquito's pleasant behavior even brought tears of happiness to Jahi's eyes. Jahi wished to see her dryads inside the terrarium artifact. Velvet Mosquito moved to the side, and her size diminished. Jahi, upon entering, confirmed to a few questions that the terrarium artifact wouldn't be affected by her movements. Observing the barren state of the terrarium artifact, Elderflower advised Jahi that since she possessed so many diamonds, she should furnish it. He suggested purchasing items from the workshop and insisted on luxurious items, avoiding cheap ones. Jahi somewhat curtly told Elderflower to enter the terrarium artifact. He commented on how differently she spoke to Velvet Mosquito compared to him, but remembering her promise of diamonds, he entered in a flash. Inside, he reminded Jahi of her promise. While Jahi mused on how he would even use diamonds, Jahi zoomed in on the terrarium artifact, observing the two dryads moving in opposite directions. Velvet Mosquito explained she was decorating her home and couldn't coexist with Elderflower due to their naturally different habitats. Velvet revealed she had known Elderflower since he was young and called him a kid, which slightly annoyed him. She reminded him that she had taken care of him in his youth. Jahi began picturing this, but Elderflower stopped her, warning against strange imaginings, as dryads develop differently than humans. Jahi wondered how he knew what she was thinking. Velvet Mosquito provided the answer. When Jahi looked into the terrarium and thought, her thoughts were directly transmitted to them. Jahi could hear them from a distance through the terrarium artifact. Velvet was standing on a deserted field, while Elderflower was on a grassy area. Velvet planted a seedling, which quickly grew into a large velvet mosquito tree, the mother plant of her species. The terrarium could be decorated with Jahi's mother plant and used to gather more dryads. Velvet described her tree as incredibly strong, with roots extending 9 meters deep into the ground. She mentioned that groundwater was always present where she stood in the desert, making her its current guardian. Elderflower countered by showcasing the beauty and fragrance of his own flowers. With both dryads busy decorating their homes, Jahi considered leaving to search for Daisy. By the time Jahi exited the greenhouse, it was already dark. The lady wished her a safe journey. Jahi thanked her for her guidance, but the lady, with a kind gesture, replied that Jahi was the one who should be thanked, as their deal was exceptional and 10 times better than others. Jahi felt like a VIP customer, a stark contrast to her real-world status as a VIP at roadside shops. Here, she didn't even envy celebrities. Jahi was now ready to look for Daisy. Lost in thoughts about Daisy, Jahi didn't know who Daisy truly was, where she might have gone, or where the community center was located. Jahi arrived at the inn, and the owner welcomed her. Jahi wondered if he remembered her, to which he replied he could never forget someone who came with Daisy. Jahi inquired if Daisy had returned, but the owner said she hadn't. Consequently, Jahi asked if he knew Daisy was a dryad. The owner responded that Jahi had finally noticed. Jahi questioned if Daisy had been hiding the fact that she was a dryad. Jahi clarified to the owner that she hadn't known until someone else informed her Daisy was a dryad. Finding Jahi to be a good person, the owner began sharing information about Daisy. Daisy arrived the previous year, around the time the world tree bore fruit. Jahi immediately recalled that dryads weren't born in the wild, they were born in the orchard. Jahi quickly grasped that since Daisy was a dryad, she must have had a master, but her sole connection to that master must have been abruptly severed. A dryad being wild meant enduring cold and the pain of their body decaying. Daisy's master had been cruel, failing to see her cuteness and resorting to violence. At the last moment, another dryad saved her by giving him a fruit. Daisy fled the orchard after her soul connection was broken. Hearing Daisy's history filled Jahi with anger towards Daisy's former master for treating her so harshly. Jahi then understood why Daisy had run away from her in the orchard. Daisy had likely felt a similar fear based on her past trauma. The inn owner, upon learning Daisy's plight, had started providing her with food. Though the owner, being human, couldn't communicate directly with Daisy, he understood from her expressions that she never blamed anyone. Jahi realized she had started to dislike Daisy when she thought Daisy was like her ex-master. Jahi's deep contemplation about Daisy triggered her emotions. Two dryads emerged from the terrarium artifact. Velvet Mosquito asked Jahi the reason for her anger. Elderflower offered to kill the person or dryad who had upset her, but Jahi explained she was just thinking about Daisy. Jahi asked the owner if she should search for Daisy at the community center. The owner directed her there, expressing hope that Jahi could help heal the wounds Daisy's past had inflicted. Velvet Mosquito asked Jahi if she was worried about Daisy. She knew Daisy wasn't soul-linked to Jahi, but seeing Jahi's determination to find her, Velvet expressed concern, saying her heart pained her when Jahi cried. She promised to do her best to find Daisy, though noted it would be challenging as Daisy was a common species. Velvet Mosquito wanted to help Jahi find Daisy. As a guardian of the desert, Velvet Mosquito's ability to find groundwater extended to locating other things as well. Velvet knew genetic information, and if a dryad was born from the World Tree, she could use ground information to trace where the dryad had stepped. Elderflower's title was gift from God, but it also signified a lucky charm. Elderflower's branches could be used as lucky charms, potentially increasing Velvet Mosquito's luck and improving the chances of finding Daisy. Jahi became emotional and thanked them. Velvet mentioned that finding a common species like Daisy was difficult, but Jahi specifying Daisy had red hair made the search slightly easier. Elderflower told Jahi to step back. Velvet Mosquito used her weapon, embedding it deeply into the ground. She explained she had to dig deeper because it was a special day with many dryads in town, and Daisy, a common species with weak energy, was harder to locate. She needed to amplify her search. Elderflower lifted Jahi up to protect her from the velvet earthquake, which, despite being near the source, wouldn't affect him due to his deeply grown roots. Velvet Mosquito pinpointed a location, not exact but likely where Daisy was. The direction pointed towards the community center, suggesting she was in that vicinity. Furthermore, Velvet Mosquito also gathered information about other dryads nearby and suspected Daisy might be in trouble. They reached the location, but the area was vast, making a precise search difficult. Velvet couldn't use another earthquake to locate Daisy as nearby buildings could collapse. Jahi ran so fast she was breathless. She heard something on the other side of a wall. Velvet went to investigate and asked Jahi to confirm if she was indeed looking for a Daisy with red hair. Elderflower lifted Jahi up onto the wall. They observed druids standing in a circle. Velvet sensed a young seedling, unusual because the World Tree never sent out young seedlings. Elderflower detected a bond Jahi was forming with a wild dryad. Jahi felt that the dryad she was searching for had been forcibly driven into a wild state, meaning a druid had forcefully severed their soul link. Normally, a master provided a piece of their soul to the dryad to ensure their well-being until they returned to the World Tree. In some cases, when a dryad didn't undergo this process, they lost power, became contaminated, and reverted to seedlings. Jahi realized that if Daisy became smaller than her current state, she would return to the World Tree. Jahi suspected Daisy was down there and wanted to go down. Elderflower held her and brought her down. It was the same group of superstitious people she had encountered before. She told them to move aside, but a person wearing a green hat was about to attack Jahi with a leaf. Velvet Mosquito destroyed it with her weapon. The group moved aside, and Jahi saw Daisy lying on the ground, injured and unconscious. Jahi urgently called for Elderflower to heal Daisy, but he explained that Daisy couldn't absorb his healing energy because their souls weren't connected, and Elderflower had no bond with Daisy's specific species. Daisy was suffering terribly. Jahi tried to wake her up to heal her. The superstitious guy declared his intention to kill Daisy and use her as fertilizer. He called Jahi greedy and told her to abandon Daisy because she would die anyway. The guy warned Jahi. Hearing this, Jahi asked if he was responsible for Daisy's condition. Shamelessly, he admitted he was, which enraged Jahi. The guy's accomplice mentioned that while Jahi only had a red-haired dryad, Daisy, she now possessed higher-graded dryads. The guy recognized that one was a healing type and the other a defense type and thought that a simultaneous attack might give them a chance to win, unaware of the true power of the dryads that Jahi had. Jahi was furious at both Daisy's ex-master and the superstitious guy who had injured Daisy, feeling they deserved to suffer as much as they made Daisy suffer. Meanwhile, Daisy opened her eyes and congratulated Jahi on her new high-grade dryads. Jahi shared her concerns and told Daisy she was her lucky charm and that Jahi's luck was incomplete without her. Jahi pleaded with Daisy to become her dryad, promising to keep her happy because she brought her luck. Jahi hugged Daisy, feeling her like an old, dying tree with only the scent of dust remaining. Daisy whispered dream and then suddenly leaped up, shielding Jahi from an acid fruit bomb. Daisy was severely injured by the blast. Elderflower then used his luck attribute, and Velvet Mosquito quickly moved, defeating all the enemies. Jahi was distraught about Daisy. Moreover, Daisy no longer had a soul vessel to absorb Elderflower's healing energy. Elderflower stated the truth, it was over. But Jahi, heartbroken, cried for Daisy. After enduring so much pain, Jahi didn't want Daisy to leave her, but death was imminent. Daisy, however, said she was okay with the pain and that at some point, she couldn't feel anything anymore. Daisy expressed her feelings for Jahi, saying it would break her heart if Jahi got hurt. Daisy was happy that Jahi was safe and that she had met a precious person in her life who wanted her, even for a brief time. It was like a dream for Daisy, but helping Jahi was a truly happy moment for her. In her final words, Daisy said her luck was Jahi, and her hope was Jahi too. Jahi became overwhelmed with emotion and tightly held Daisy's hand. It was the first time Jahi had witnessed someone she knew pass away. Daisy was the first dryad to come to Jahi in this world and guide her. Elderflower gently lifted Jahi, telling her to look at Daisy. Daisy was glowing golden and then transformed into a golden fruit. Velvet Mosquito gave the fruit to Jahi and said that it was Daisy's hope. Moreover, Elderflower explained to Jahi that pure dryads were born from world trees and returned to them when their lives end. However, when the mother plant is combined with another species other than the world tree, it becomes an improved species, and sometimes a special power that even one doesn't know about is engraved into their soul. This is the reason that Daisy stays here instead of returning to the world tree, and the power is none other than resurrection. It's the golden fruit, and it is ready to be reborn. Consequently, Jahi is able to feel its warmth as if it is alive. Jahi's mind was now wondering with the question of what she should do to bloom other dryads. Should she do it right now? And does she go to orchards to do it? Jahi can go to the orchard and use the dried pot. They are ready to go to the place where they first met and to say hello to Daisy again. Meanwhile, Velvet Mosquito made the path for them to go. Furthermore, Velvet showed her emotions that at the path foes can be found, but if anyone comes in the Jahi path, she will pierce it, whether it's her brother from the same branch. Jahi is important for them, as she is like a small world tree and she provides value to their existence. Elderflower assured Jahi that there was nothing that could hurt her, and they moved forward with positivity. They reached orchard and moreover it's quiet there because it's night and everyone has gone. The lady, who is the guide, asks her to help and Jahi tells her that she wants to use the dried pot. The lady is disappointed knowing that Jahi already has fruit. They went to the greenhouse, and it is shining even at night because it is an imitation of the world tree. Furthermore, Jahi wonders if the world tree imitation is that fantastic, then how much more the world tree can be. Jahi has doubts about whether she is really a small tree. Jahi remembers that Daisy doesn't like grades, so she told the lady to don't say anything. Jahi placed the fruit on the dried pot, and the data comes on screen that it's a red daisy with the title Spring Fairy, language Hope, habitat normal, values admiration, and attribute attack. Jahi is about to bloom it, but the lady stops her, reminding her that she has reached the soul limit this morning. She becomes upset remembering her about the soul limit. All she has are diamonds, and she is just thinking about raising her level anyhow. Meanwhile, Velvet tells her that she doesn't need to worry as she has already grown stronger in comparison with the time they first met. Velvet asked Jahi if she felt dizzy after coming to orchard, and she realized that Velvet was right because she didn't feel dizzy. This confirmed that Jahi's soul was ready to welcome the new dryad. Elderflower seems upset because he doesn't want to share her attention with anyone else, being an immature kid. Jahi touches the fruit, and it flies up with a light. The red petals start falling, and Daisy appears. Daisy calls Jahi Miss Druid. Jahi is happy to know that she remembered her. Jahi opens her hands and hugs Daisy. Jahi can sense Daisy's fragrance. Velvet is shocked to see Daisy in her seedling form because she has stayed away from the world tree. Velvet was expecting that Daisy would come back in a grown state if she bloomed from the fruit. Therefore, Daisy tells Jahi that she is tall, but it doesn't matter to Jahi whether she is small or tall. Daisy matters for Jahi, and her height doesn't, but she is curious and wants to see Daisy grow as well. Velvet tells Jahi that the days when Daisy is grown will come soon, as Jahi is her world tree and she is an improved species, so she will grow faster and come back to her original form soon. Consequently, Jahi curiously asked Velvet what she has to do to grow her up, and the answer is simple: she has to provide lots of nutrients to Daisy in order to raise her healthy and fast. All the numbers that she picked are fruits full of nutrients. Luckily, the fruits are in her pocket, and she wants to give all of them to Daisy in order to grow her up fast, but Elderflower put up an objection and shouted that she was going to give them all to her.